Morning from Pfeiffercon, Zurich, Switzerland, and welcome to another GA Canine Training video, folks. Today we're working again on contaminated starts. This is incredibly important. Tracking in an urban environment is all about contamination. It doesn't really matter where you are. It's rare that you have a clean track, especially deep in the city. So you actually have to train for it. One of the biggest problems we have from a criminal case perspective is burglaries, robberies, and in this case what we're doing is we're simulating a strong-armed robbery out here in this industrial area. And in this case, we have multiple people standing around, a subject who is accosted, her jacket's removed, and it's rifled through by the suspect looking for a wallet or some other type of money or currency. Shortly thereafter, the suspect's going to drop the jacket and then take off in a particular direction in this open field. This is kind of the beginning phase of when we're working with discrimination and working with multiple contaminated odors on top of a track. And in this case, everything's relatively fresh. Not only is the case fresh with all the contaminants, but also the trail layers track is relatively fresh. Later on in time, we're going to change the ages of both effects. So either the contaminated trail being older and the track layers trail being fresher and vice versa. The latter is actually the most important. So right after the suspect takes off from the area, I take all of our people that were just sitting here watching this whole thing going down, to include our simulated victim, walk throughout this area in about a 10-meter radius. The purpose of this is to overlay over the top of the suspect's track all these fresh contaminants. We want to teach the dog to actually start working through all this big ass scent pool, to try to find the exit trail out. The whole point of this is to scent the dog on the victim's jacket, which was also handled by the suspect, and then have the dog isolate that single individual odor out. So a lot of people, they don't really believe in scent discrimination, but when you watch this video, you'll see that it really, really does work. Dogs have an amazing ability to do what we call a missing member method. And the missing member method's been around since about 1937. This is where the dog comes out, will detect all the odors at the scene, and if we have the contaminants, the people that contaminated the area, present when the dog starts, it's relatively easy for them to pick up the exit trail going out. Now, what I want you to do is really watch this German Shepherd detail this area, and you can see it get off on a couple different tracks and then ultimately isolate the trail out. This is really, really good work. This is what we're looking for. You can read every aspect of this dog's behavior. And when we're trailing and tracking, folks, it's what it's all about. You have to read behavior. The dog's body language is the book that you have to read that explains the track. We're nothing more than an interpreter, folks. That's our job, to interpret dog body language to determine where our track is and ultimately where the subject is that we're looking for. Hope you enjoy this. Really good work. Now, tracking and trailing on the grass is a pretty straightforward affair. It's relatively easy for the dog to work through it, to stay very close to the actual track of the subject. But once we get under concrete, especially when the concrete's starting to heat up, it's a different story. The dog needs to start using productive sources. At times, they may get odor exactly on the footsteps, and at other times, they're going to get odor wherever it might lie. Now, you can see by this dog's behavior exactly where scent is, and that's what's so important. And in this case, it's not specifically right where the subject was. And if you can see, it's kind of right here in the shade line, and then also here in the grassy area on top of all these cobblestones, and then again up here against the building. This is kind of what scent does in an urban environment. It doesn't lay right on top of the track. It goes to different places when it's nothing but concrete. Important to understand if you're going to work and be successful in the city. As soon as the dog goes around the corner, we're going to start getting an alert. This is kind of a near alert. The dog knows something's coming. It's relatively close. We're going up to a heads-up posture, ears perked forward. The dog's starting to look around. Definitely in good, strong odor. But it seems to go away a little bit. The shifting proximity alert is not necessarily specific. It's not allowing the dog to dive right in, so it has to really work this area going from air scent to track. But the big indicator is the speed increase. We've got a lot more pull, a lot more intensity proximity alert. Now as the dog comes around the corner, you may notice that our subject is up high. It's up on that ladder to the right now behind the dog. And what the dog is doing is working the scent pool here. It's really important that when we get into this condition that we allow the dog to do everything without influencing the dog. The dog has to work scent to source. We don't want to hold the dog close to source so it comes in or guide the dog to source. We need to let the dog work the scent pattern however it may lay and however long it may take. This is the key to self-discovery and the dog learning these problems on its own. If we help a dog, they don't learn the problem. They don't learn how to solve it. If we guide the dog, if we push the dog to wherever that scent source might be, the only thing we're doing is teaching the dog that we're going to help it in times of trouble. The handler's doing a pretty good job here of just letting that lead be relatively free, letting the dog work the perimeter of the scent pool, trying to find a way in. Now, when we're in a high fine condition, you don't really have a great scent cone. The scent cone's coming down from an angle from up high, so it's not something the dog can work into. Ultimately, what he has to do is work the edges and the perimeter of the scent pool, get close to source, and then maybe work on some contact area at the steps. And that's exactly what the dog does, just not right now. Good job with the leash, Karina. Very nice work. Oh, there's your alert. Let her go. If she wants it, let her go. You have an alert over there. That's where all the odor is for some reason. And this will help, okay? Don't be in a hurry. Thanks for watching this GA Canine training video, folks. I hope you enjoyed it. If you like what we do, if you have an interest in our style, make sure you check out my book. It's called The Tao of Trailing, and it's available at gacanine.com.